The cave entrance loomed before us, a dark mouth in the rocky hillside, inviting yet foreboding. I stood at the edge, feeling the chill of the underground air seep into my bones. It was early spring and the ground was still wet with melting snow. We had planned this trip for weeks, a chance to explore the vast network of caves we had heard so much about. The thrill of discovery filled the air as I glanced at my companions. Each of us eager to delve into the unknown. There were 5 of us, Mike, the experienced caver who had explored numerous caves across the country. Sarah, a geology major who was fascinated by rock formations. Tom, the jokester of the group, always ready with a quip. And Liz, my childhood friend who shared my love for adventure. Together, we formed a perfect balance of enthusiasm and caution. As we gathered our gear, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. We turned on our headlamps, their beams cutting through the darkness as we stepped inside. The temperature dropped significantly, and the sound of dripping water echoed in the vast chamber. The walls were slick with moisture, glistening like glass. Mike led the way, carefully navigating the rocky terrain while the rest of us followed closely behind. I took a moment to absorb the surreal beauty around us. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like ancient icicles, and shadows danced along the walls as our lights flickered as we ventured deeper. The cave opened up into a grand hall. The vastness of the space was humbling, and I couldn't help but marvel at the intricate formations. Sarah began explaining the geology, her voice resonating in the stillness. I listened, captivated, as she described how these formations took thousands of years to develop. Shaped by the relentless flow of water. We spent hours exploring, weaving through narrow passages and climbing over boulders. The excitement of discovery surged within me as we stumbled upon a hidden chamber filled with beautiful crystal formations. It felt like we had found a secret world untouched by time. We took pictures, our laughter echoing through the cavern as we posed among the glittering crystals. I felt a bond with my friends, our shared adventure solidifying our friendship in ways that everyday life never could. But as we pressed on, the atmosphere shifted. The air became denser and a slight dampness clung to our skin. We reached a junction where the passage split into 3 different tunnels. Mike paused, his brow furrowed in thought. We should stick together, he advised. Let's take the middle tunnel. It looks the most promising. We agreed, and with that, we plunged deeper into the cave. The tunnel narrowed, forcing us to crouch as we moved forward. The walls were rough, scraping against my backpack, and the air grew cooler. I felt a growing sense of unease, the thrill of adventure mingling with a hint of fear. Tom, always quick with a joke, tried to lighten the mood, but his laughter sounded strained. Liz and I exchanged glances, sensing the shift in energy. Suddenly, we heard a rumble. At first, I thought it was our imaginations, but the sound grew louder, echoing through the passages. Panic surged within me. What was that? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mike held up a hand, silencing us. We listened intently, and the rumbling faded. Probably just a rockfall, he reassured us. But the fear lingered, thickening the air around us. We pressed on, each step feeling heavier. The tunnel twisted and turned, and the beam of my headlamp caught glimpses of shadows flitting across the walls. My heart raced, each pulse echoing in my ears. As we rounded a bend, we stumbled into a narrow crevice. The passage was tight, forcing us to turn sideways as we maneuvered through. I could feel the weight of the earth pressing down on us, a reminder of how small we were in this vast, subterranean world. As we emerged into a larger chamber, the oppressive atmosphere lifted slightly. The walls were lined with strange markings, ancient symbols that seemed to tell a story long forgotten. Sarah, wide-eyed, stepped closer to examine them. These must be from the indigenous people, she said, her voice filled with awe. We gathered around, entranced by the mystery. But as I stood there, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. An unsettling sensation creeping over me. We spent a while documenting the markings, our fears temporarily forgotten in the excitement of discovery. But as we prepared to move on, I felt a shift in the air. The rumbling returned, this time louder and more menacing. The ground shook slightly beneath our feet, and I glanced at Mike, whose expression had turned grave. We need to go back, he urged, now. The sense of urgency propelled us into motion. Our laughter and jokes replaced by a tense silence. As we retraced our steps, the rumbling intensified, vibrating through the rock. My heart raced as I focused on the narrow crevice, knowing it was our only way out. We squeezed through, the darkness closing in around us like a vice. I could hear my friends' breaths quicken, each sound amplifying the fear that gripped me. Finally, we reached the junction again, but in our panic, it felt different. The passages we had come from now seemed alien, and the path we had taken was shrouded in darkness. Which way? I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. Mike, normally decisive, hesitated. I'm not sure. We need to stick together. The rumbling grew louder, almost deafening. It felt as though the cave was alive, shifting around us. We have to go, Liz shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. We took the left passage, hoping it would lead us back to the entrance. The walls closed in around us, and the shadows seemed to stretch longer, clawing at our resolve. As we ran, the air grew thick with dust and moisture, making it difficult to breathe. We will, Liz said, her voice shaky but determined. We just need to stay calm and think. We took a moment to catch our breaths. Our bodies pressed together for warmth and comfort. The darkness felt alive, wrapping around us like a shroud. I could hear the sound of water dripping somewhere in the distance. A reminder of the world above, Mike took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. Let's retrace our steps. We have to find the junction again. I nodded, my heart pounding in rhythm with the rumbling that seemed to vibrate through the earth. We turned back, moving cautiously, every sound magnified in the silence. The tunnel felt more oppressive now, the shadows stretching and shifting if they were alive. As we retraced our steps, I could feel the weight of fear in the air. Every flicker of light felt like a fleeting hope, and I held onto the strength of my friends. Together, we pushed through the darkness, the rumbling continuing to echo ominously. With each step, I could feel my resolve strengthening. We were not just a group of friends anymore. We were a team, bound by the shared challenge of survival. Finally, we reached the junction again. The three tunnels loomed before us, dark and unwelcoming. Which way? I asked, my voice a mix of hope and despair. Mike glanced around, his brow furrowed in concentration. The middle tunnel, he decided. It's the one we initially took. We plunged into the middle passage, the weight of uncertainty heavy on our shoulders. I felt the rush of adrenaline as we moved quickly, the walls closing in tighter with every step. The rumbling grew louder, almost as if the cave was warning us to leave. I pressed forward, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. As we navigated the tight spaces, I noticed Sarah lagging behind, her expression tense. Are you okay? I asked, concern flooding through me. She nodded, but the worrying in her eyes betrayed her. I just feel like we're running in circles, she said. I glanced at Mike, who was scanning the walls for any signs of familiarity. After what felt like an eternity, we emerged into a wider chamber. The air felt different here, less oppressive.